Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, give us a call or a text on the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, a major shakeup in Katie Wilson's administration already. Seems like things are going swimmingly over there, but before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Remember how we heard, this trip is going to be a disaster for Trump, and he doesn't hold any cards whatsoever? Well, it really was a win for the United States. It's a win for Washington. How do I know that? Did you notice yesterday China ordered 200 new Boeing airplanes? That means jobs for the East Coast. Because are they actually going to be made here? Or are they going to be made in the Carolinas? Okay, I assume some of them will be made here. That's a win for Boeing. That's a win. There, in fact, were many, many wins. Was it perfect? No, of course not. But I would say President Trump has done more to bring business to Washington than Bob Ferguson, who's busy chasing away businesses, than Katie Wilson, who's busy chasing away businesses. I said on Wednesday, when the summit started, I said there were a few things that Trump had to do in order for this to be a win. The mainstream media is ignoring almost all of them, because almost all of the things that I said he needed to accomplish for this to be a win were a win. Let's start with the small stuff, shall we? Let's do this. Why did he load the plane with all the business guys? Why does he bring Elon Musk? Why does he bring all these guys with him? The lamestream media is busy saying things like, it's crony capitalism. This is how he's profiting off all this. Or maybe it's because the overall message was, do you want to be friends with the United States and make money by selling your products to the United States and having our products sold in your country? Or do you want us to continue blockading your oil that's coming out of Iran? It's really that simple. If you want to have business discussions, politicians love to think they're experts in everything. A friend of mine who does a lot of political advocacy work, he compares politicians to puddles. They're very, very shallow, but they're spread all over the place. By that, he means their knowledge. They know very, very little about a lot, so they fancy themselves experts on everything, which they are not. So take a bunch of the business leaders with you. Here's the president talking about it. In theory, here's the president talking about it. Okay, computer. Come on, computer. Let's do this. Let's try it one more time here, computer.
It's amazing. Actually, a lot of people, I noticed even with the business leaders, they're the biggest businessmen in the world, and women, a couple of women. And most of them, almost all of them, but most of them never met President Xi. This was the first time they've met him. So they found it exciting. They all performed very well. They all spoke. And I said, it's a little different position for them because they're hot stuff back in our country, but here they are, they're standing in front of this, massive country, the leadership. But they really performed well, I thought.
So you go there to sell your products. You go there to do business with them. For example, think Elon Musk. Elon Musk can say the following to President Xi, and we don't know if he did or he didn't, but he could say, look, I get all my batteries from you guys, and they don't want me doing that anymore. They want me doing all the batteries in the United States. And if we're doing all the batteries in the United States for the Teslas, you're not going to get that business. So wouldn't it be better for us to be friends? Wouldn't it be better for us to continue buying the batteries from you for the Teslas? Now, personally, I think we should make them in the U.S. Personally, I don't think we should be getting them from the Chinese. But this is how negotiations work. So what exactly did he talk about? Did President Trump talk about with the Chinese?
What does he want from the U.S.?
A lot of things. We talked about a lot of things. Too many things to discuss, but a lot of things. We had a very good meeting, but we want things from them. One thing he agreed to today, he's going to order 200 jets. That's a big thing, Boeing. 200 big ones. That's a lot of jobs. It's a lot. Boeing wanted 150, he got 200. He said, I think it was a commitment. I mean, sort of like a statement, but I think it was a commitment.
200 new airplanes is a big deal. That's a huge, huge deal. Now, there's something else which a lot of people have not been talking about. While Bob Ferguson and the Democrats do everything they possibly can to destroy our farmers here in Washington, I mean that, literally everything. The big problem with the trade wars going on right now is that American farmers sell their goods all over the world. And one of the people who's buying them is China. And if you're having this massive trade war with China, then China's not buying our stuff. Can we come to a deal with that? President Trump was sitting and talking with Sean Hannity, and they discussed this.
Do you think you made progress? Did you feel like that the give and take?
Sure,
like, well, for example, you're not going to sign this big agreement after hours meeting, but do you feel the foundation was laid for great
tremendous.
success?
Better than last time. Last time we signed like 36 deals. This time it's much bigger than that. Talked about soybeans for our farmers. They're going to do a lot of soybeans for our farmers. They're going to be buying a lot of our farm product, which is great. They have an unlimited appetite, as the expression goes. They can buy as much as when you have that many people, they need it. And we have the best product. We're the best, some of the best of everything. And they'll be doing that.
Okay, so that's good news. Let's help out the American farmers. Now, what about the oil? As I explained on Wednesday, here's what the importance of the oil is. China gets a third of its energy through the Hormuz Strait. It gets a bunch of its oil from Iran. And right now it's closed to them. So you think our gas prices are high? You think our economy's having a few issues? China's in way worse shape right now. So the question is, are they going to buy oil from us? Or are they going to help us reopen the Hormuz Strait by saying to Iran, who's one of their allied powers in world conquest domination, cut out this stuff because now we don't have the oil. And if we don't have the oil, we can't be friends with you because we're going to have to go get it from the United States. So we're making a deal on that.
They get a lot of their oil, 40% of their oil from that location. So what has happened, and one thing I think that we're going to make a deal on, they've agreed they want to buy oil from the United States. They're going to go to Texas. We're going to start sending Chinese ships to Texas and to Louisiana and to Alaska. And I think that was another thing that was agreed to. That's a big thing.
What about liquefied natural gas?
It's not that much longer.
Gas too?
Yeah, everything. Energy.
Energy.
That's the one thing. They really need energy. That's the one thing. They have an insatiable appetite for energy, and we have unlimited energy. We've now under me, but we now produce more than if you combine Saudi Arabia and before the war, if you took Saudi Arabia, Russia, put them together, we're doing twice as much oil and gas as they are. Think of that. It's amazing.
Venezuela
that was?
We're two.
Called drill, baby drill, right?
So now, if you ramp up U.S. oil production to meet the needs of what China needs, you're not reliant on the Middle East anymore for oil, and people are buying it from us instead. Now, when they buy oil from the United States, they're doing a few things. Number one, they're buying it in U.S. dollars. That strengthens the buying power of the U.S. dollar, makes the U.S. dollar more valuable. Two, more oil means more jobs, means more people being hired. Three, selling more oil means more taxes, means more revenue for the government. And even though as a conservative that kind of bothers me, overall that means you can spend them on big hairy weapon system if you wanted to for the Trump administration, or pay off debt or anything else. Ramping up more energy production also means price goes down. And everybody else has realized, wait, we want 1 billion Chinese as customers, not just the United States. We want it. That's why OPEC, the Arab Union surrounding oil that has controlled our gas prices for so many years, is about to break up, because together they used to say, okay, this is where we're going to hold prices. But some countries wanted to produce more so they could sell to more people. And that's why the UAE broke away from them. And now the rest of the countries are looking at going, if those guys are making all the money, why shouldn't we make all the money too? So now if you ramp all this up and everybody's producing oil, you may not have these issues with prices that have been a cornerstone of our economy and the news and conflict for how many years? If it's everywhere, you don't have a supply problem anymore. You might have some other problems, but this brings down the price of gas. This is huge. Absolutely huge. Okay, now what about Iran? Because now if China's getting their oil from us, do they really have the same relationship they did with Iran before? Look, they want their oil from Iran. They want the stuff they were getting from there. They don't want to be reliant on us. So what's going to happen is now they're going to go back to Iran and say, you guys stop making the nuclear weapons and reopen the strait. Or at least promise you're not going to make the nuclear weapons and reopen the strait because we can't deal with this anymore. So what did Trump say about Iran's latest proposal?
Have you rejected the latest proposal from Iran, or where does that stand?
Well, I looked at it, and if I don't like the first sentence, I just throw it away.
What was the first sentence?
An unacceptable sentence. Because they fully agreed, no nuclear, and if they have any nuclear of any form, I don't read the rest of
So
it.
20 years is not enough for you, it's got to be a permanent...
No, 20 years is enough, but the level of guarantee from them is not enough. In other words, it's got to be a real 20 years, not a big one.
It means you've got to get all the fuel out and no more production.
We have to get everything, but we're not even talking about, I call it the nuclear dust. Came up with a term which seems to have caught on.
I'm talking about it because they would not remove the...
And they said that they can't remove it because they don't have the technology to remove it.
Well,
They don't have the type of tractors. They say the only one, they told me directly, they said the only one that can remove it is China or the U.S. We're the only ones with the equipment. They said you were right. It is a complete obliteration. With that being said, I want to get it. And they agreed to it, but then they took it back, but they'll agree to it eventually.
So now you have a little problem going on here. The regime is trying to figure out if it can outlast President Trump. See, these death cult psychopaths think to themselves, we're playing the long game, not the short game. And for them, 3 years or 2.5 years is a very short time to wait. So let alone 2 months, 3 months. Let's be realistic about the politics of this situation right now. If gas prices do not come down by, if the war isn't over by, let's say, June, you need 2 or 3 months to go through the gas supply that you have right now, which was bought by the stations at those higher prices, until the prices actually come back down. Fuel prices don't come back down just because the war ends. If you bought something at a certain amount of money, you got to sell it for a certain amount of money to make a profit and make your money back. You're not just going to drop the prices. When you order your next shipment and it's cheaper, so when that tanker truck comes and refills your gas pumps, now it can be cheaper because you bought that gas for less. But this has to work its way out of the system. So in theory, if the war is not over, I'd say by early June. If the strait is not completely open by early June, forget all the redistricting, forget anything. The Republicans get shellacked in the midterms. Absolutely shellacked. And the reason for that is because the average American is going to say, look at my gas prices, and my gas prices are so high, look at my prices on everything else. What President Trump is doing with Iran is political courage because he knows he needs to rid the world of a nuclear Iran and this terrorist regime. But he knows it might cost him the midterms. And the Iranians know that too. And they know that if the Republicans lose the midterms, what happens then? Investigations, impeachment, all that, and they are going to stop the Trump agenda dead in its tracks. China knows this too, by the way. China's falling apart right now economically, and they see the U.S. rising. You had Joe Biden and other people who are Chinese lackeys who are doing anything China wants. But now you see that the U.S. is back. And you may not like that. And they're thinking, can we outlast Trump? That's the calculation right here. Me personally, I think we should let Saudi Arabia go in and take Karg Island. I think we should let the UAE, who've been great partners in the war with Iran, do it instead of the Saudi Arabia, because then Saudi Arabia, they haven't really been stepping up as much as we want them to do, so why should we reward them with Iran's oil? Let the UAE go do it. If the UAE does it, great, fantastic. We have a great partner who's now willing to pump more oil, to sell more oil. Oil prices come down, and you don't have to worry about a nuclear-powered gas station the way we do with Russia. Do you see how all this is connected? Every little piece of this is connected. And when the mainstream media is talking about China, what are they all worked up about? They're worked up about the dumb things. They're worked up about the small, little stuff. Oh, well, what? He went to his house. Oh, he said nice things about him. Oh, how dare he? Yeah, well, you don't usually get to make deals with somebody when you say mean things about him. Look what Joe Biden did. Joe Biden trashed the leader of Saudi Arabia. And then what happens? He goes to Saudi Arabia begging him to drill more oil because his stupid Green New Deal policies made things so expensive here because he stopped all the drilling that we had to go beg for our oil from Saudi Arabia. And over there they go, nope, we're not going to drill more oil to fix you guys. You said mean things about us. Is Xi a terrible person? Yes. Is he a communist dictator? Yes. Does he have people sitting in concentration camps right now? Millions of people? Yes. Are you going to solve that by saying mean things about him? If you're going to say mean things about him, what comes next is war. That's the step that gets to eventually. So are you prepared to go to war with 1 billion Chinese? Not right now, I don't think we are. I don't think anybody has the appetite for that. So now it's a question of, as L. Darthbo just texted in, who will blink first? Who will blink first? President Trump doesn't seem to be blinking. That line he just said about if he doesn't like the first line of a deal, he throws it in the garbage. That's what this is all about. If you want the Iran war to end, if you want gas prices to go down, you need to stay the course on all of this. Because what's happening right now? You have Cuba falling apart. Communism's falling apart. You have China's economy falling apart. You have Russia trying to figure out what to do with all of this. You put all this together, you are looking at a reshaping of the world. The Middle East wants to be better friends with Israel and wants to be better friends with the United States of America. That is the Arab world right now. We are looking at a world rechanging, a new world order, you might say, of economics and how they work and partner relationships and countries that are true partners and true allies. And don't just say, oh, the Germans are coming, come help us, or the Russians are coming, come help us. You see how all this is connected? This is all connected. The average American doesn't see any of this. The average American goes, my gas prices are too high. The average American goes, my grocery prices are too high. And they're right. You can't discount that. But what if you look on the other side of this thing? And that means your gas goes down, maybe not in Washington, but your gas goes down elsewhere to below $2 a gallon because now it's plentiful. Now it's everywhere. Think about that for a second. Think about what that does for groceries. Think about what that does for American buying power. Think about what that does for the dollar. You're talking about an economic reshuffling of the entire world thanks to America greatness. And under Joe Biden, it was the exact opposite. Under Joe Biden, our gas prices went up so they could pursue green new energy. And every other country went, well, this is stupid. If America wants to commit economic suicide, we're going to take advantage of them. We'll sell them their electric cars. We'll sell them all the stupid stuff. We will do that. If they want to do this and they don't want to drill, fine by us. But now that you have a dominant America back again, now that you have a leader in President Trump again, you might be able to reshape this so we don't have to worry about these problems ever again. And who are the ones trying to drag us backwards? The media, the Democrats, all of this. Who are the ones saying don't pursue AI? Who are the ones saying don't pursue this investment? Don't make these deals. Do America first. It's all the people who don't want America to succeed. They want Ukraine to succeed, or they want Russia to succeed, or they want China to succeed. They want everybody except for the United States of America. This is a reshuffling of the world economy that could turn out absolutely amazing, absolutely incredibly, if we stay the course. Question is, do we have the political fortitude to do so? I know that President Trump does. I'm not sure how many Republicans do. I know some of them do. But also the Republican voters, how many of them are just going to say, you know what, end the war, end the war, end the war, because they don't understand the direction this is going in. The Democrats got there ages ago. They keep calling this a war of choice. You bet. This was a war of choice. Die in a nuclear inferno by a terrorist regime that has already killed over 1,000 Americans and pledges death to America, death to Israel, all the livelong day, threatens the entire Middle East, or a global reshaping that could positively benefit America. You're right, it was a war of choice, and President Trump made the right one. Let me know what you think. You agree with me? You disagree with me? Give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Speaking of choices, Katie Wilson had a choice. Keep her staff, which is failing her because she ain't that bright and she relies on them, or get a new one. We'll tell you about the big shakeup at her office when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. Remember the other day when the most useless people in Washington were all together for a press conference about the World Cup? You had Gourmet Zahalai, the King County exec. You had Seattle Socialist Mayor Katie Wilson. You had Turd Ferguson. And you had Dow Constantine, the former King County exec who is now in charge of Sound Transit. You had them taking pictures for the World Cup about, look how amazing our transit system is. Well, people are obviously concerned about the World Cup coming to town because you've got 750,000 people, they're estimating, coming to our area. That's what you've got. Well, the question is how they're going to get everywhere. Our transit system isn't that great on a regular day. We have all these construction projects. This weekend, more freeways shut down. I know that every single weekend I'm turning on my GPS to figure out where I should go, how I should get there, to places I normally go, to places I normally know the route. Why? Because of the amount of traffic I got to get around them. And sometimes I'll look at a thing that's a 20-minute drive and go, 45 minutes? What are you talking about? I think last Sunday, I spent the majority of the day in the car because I had errands to run, and everywhere had traffic in our area. So you're going to drop 750,000 more people into that? What's that going to look like? Hey, Turd Ferguson, tell us what it's going to look like.
We're taking action as a state because we know this is going to be a huge event to limit disruptions to transportation and really enhance the experience. So there's a few quick examples. We'll be pausing our work on the I-5 Ship Canal Bridge during the 5 weeks of the World Cup matches, starting on Monday, June 8th, and going until Friday, July 10th. As someone who travels on that stretch of freeway on a very regular basis, I understand the challenges facing commuters, and that's why we're putting a pause on that so we can maximize the experience for this incredible event. We'll have increased incident response teams for our roads, coordinating with our 24/7 traffic management centers who help with emergency calls and limit congestion. Since last year, thankfully, our ferry system has been at full domestic service with 18 vessels in the water. During the World Cup, we'll have 2 additional boats on standby at Eagle Harbor on Bainbridge Island in the event of any service disruption. And for our routes between Seattle, Bainbridge Island, and Bremerton, we're adding additional traffic attendants, sailors, and security personnel. We just want to make sure we're doing everything possible on our end to make this experience as positive as possible for everybody for this match.
What a well thought out, competent approach that you're doing for all the people who are visitors. Why can't you do that the rest of the year for those of us who pay your salary? For those of us who pay for all the services you just mentioned? Why can't you do that for the rest of the year for us? Why can't you open up the HOV lanes coming from North Seattle on I-5 going south so that people have an easier time on the commute in the morning? Can't do that, though. No, you want people out of the cars. So you want to see security everywhere, and you want to see a ferry system working. That's great. Why can't you do it the rest of the year? I think of that throwaway line in The Fugitive. It happens on St. Patrick's Day, right? The Fugitive, when they go to Chicago. So one of the guys goes, if they can dye the river green, the Chicago River green, one day a year, why can't they dye it blue all the other days of the year? So you can do this for a couple weeks. You can do this for a couple days. You can do this when the matches are. How come you can't do it the rest of the year? Either you don't want to or you don't know how to. They know how to. So why can't they do this the rest of the year? The amount of stuff they're doing for the World Cup. Here's the latest thing. Here's the latest thing they're doing. And I cannot believe this is what it is because we were making fun of everything. So let's see what we got so far. We got the water bottle filling stations that are going to be for the public, even though you can't bring your water bottle into the arena anyway, which the homeless are probably going to end up cleaning themselves or their needles with. We've got the barge with the soccer field on it. We've got that. Now, remember yesterday when we were making fun of this, I talked about the old bathrooms they had in Pioneer Square, the self-cleaning bathrooms that they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on that never worked right and were never clean. Do you know what we have now? You ready for this? Here we go. Solar-powered bathrooms. Solar-powered bathrooms. These portable bathrooms are going to be dropped around the stadium area. Now, apparently, they're going to have guards at these bathrooms, and the door opens automatically after 10 minutes. So if you really had some bad nachos or something and it's acting on your stomach, you got to get your business done in 10 minutes. No time for newspapers or books or anything.
I was going to say, that doesn't give me time to do my Wordle puzzle.
Doesn't give me time to watch an episode on the toilet. 5 more minutes. Yeah, exactly.
Give me 5 more minutes, guys.
No, hold it shut. Reset. So what happens if you're a drug addict? Did you go in there to shoot up and then you pass out for 6 hours? Oh, well, I guess that one's out of order. Well, this sounds like it's going to work out swimmingly, but wait a second. There's going to be guards at these things? There's going to be monitors at these things? How do they plan on dealing with the drug addicts? That's going to be fun to watch. So wait a second. The party of defund the police is now bringing in a whole bunch of police and a whole bunch of guards? Fascinating. Really fascinating. So wait, you can have these bathrooms for the World Cup, but you can't have them the rest of the year? This is why we can't have nice things. This is why. Why can't we have the nice things too? Now, meanwhile, somebody who has nothing to do with this but is taking a lot of the credit for it is Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson. I got a tip the other day that actually, for the cameras, you know the big discussion about the cameras, she doesn't want them on for the World Cup. The feds have come on and said, yeah, we're in charge. We're using your cameras, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can virtue signal all you want. I'm trying to confirm that to be sure about it, but from what I hear, the feds are in charge. But Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson has had some pretty awful, awful, awful media incidents the past few weeks. So, first, she has Starbucks leaving after she boycotted them, and all she says about that is...
bye.
Bye. So, what happens now? She walks away from Chris Daniels. She doesn't want to give him an interview, so what does she say to him?
Bye.
Right, I'm just walking on out of here, bye. Well, now, you know what she's saying to her chief of staff?
Bye.
Right, she's getting rid of her chief of staff because things are not going well over there. So, she's getting rid of a person whose name you don't know, and it doesn't matter anyway. And she's bringing a woman named Esther Handy. And you say, I don't know that name at all. Who is this person? And me, Ari Hoffman, I said, I have no idea who this person is either. Let's go to the Google machine. Shall I read you her bio? Because you think things are going to be better with Esther Handy running the show? Here we go. This is from the Washington State Budget and Policy Center. How's Washington State's budget and policy? Is it good? Okay, strike one. Esther Handy, she, her, strike two, is a seasoned organizational leader. Oh, a nonprofit leader. Not any business experience. That's strike three. You're out. Okay, the she, her, you know what? We'll give her, it's Seattle. We'll give them benefit of the doubt on that one. At least she wrote she, her, not they, them. Join the Budget and Policy Center as interim executive director to steward the organization through leadership transition. Hey, how's Washington's budget and policy? Okay, there's strike four right there. Esther grew up in Olympia in a public sector family. Oh, living off the government? Is that what we're saying? Uh-huh. And has spent nearly half her career at the city of Seattle. Wait a second. Is anything good in the city of Seattle? First as a legislative aide and chief of staff to council member Mike O'Brien. Oh, great. This is going to work out well. What is she proud of with the things she championed? Working on the first of the nation policies like the $15 minimum wage. Our region's first priority hire policy. That's the one that got us terrible staff. Oh, and later as central staff director at the city council. Wow, this is going to be great for all of us. All the things that suck in Seattle, this woman had something to do with. Wonderful.
I'm just glad that old-timey names like Esther are coming back. You know, I always had like an Aunt Esther, an Aunt Darlene, an Aunt Flo. This is all. So, you know, let's bring some Darlenes and Flo's back.
You want the blue hair to go with it too? You want all that stuff back?
Yeah. Esther. Don't know too many Esthers.
Well, because I'm in the Jewish world, everybody has the biblical names, so that one's always around.
Oh, is that a biblical name?
That's a biblical name,
That's
sir.
how blind I am when it comes to that stuff.
So the biblical names are making a comeback. It might be that kind of thing. Yes. I don't know. Somebody named their kid Beatrice the other day, and I'm like, real. I see the blue hair already. Like, that's an adorable baby, but I'm shocked it didn't come out with the blue hair. I don't mean the Antifa blue hair. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I see what's happening here. It's just something about the name. You get the blue hair. Yeah. Do you think this is going to be good? Apparently, Katie Wilson's having a lot of trouble working with the Seattle City Council, and she figures this lady's going to be good at working with the Seattle City Council because she knows all the ins and outs. You think this is going to be successful? You think this is going to solve the gaffes? My guess is no. My guess is if they're smart, they're just going to Joe Biden her, put her in a basement, leave her down there, and this gal will, this gal will end up doing all the talking. That would be my guess. Up next, my friends, should the families of terrorists be deported? I'm going to say a big yes for that, but some Democrats are saying no. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. big arrest today. Big, huge arrest. The biggest arrest you've ever seen. Detained. I'm the best. An Iraqi man accused of orchestrating nearly 20 terrorist attacks across Europe and plotting attacks on Jewish institutions in the United States has been brought to New York to face federal terrorism charges after what the FBI described as a major international operation. Since early March, Mohammed Bakr Saad Dawood al-Saidi, yeah, try saying that 3 times fast, and his associates allegedly planned and coordinated 18 attacks in the name of Ashab al-Yamin, a pro-Iranian Islamist group that has taken credit for attacks against Jewish schools, synagogues, and charities in Europe, as well as American, Israeli, and Iranian opposition targets, according to the FBI. So, the FBI gets this guy. The FBI is now going to prosecute this guy and his entire network. On March 9th, al-Saidi allegedly posted a message on his Telegram account with the logo of Ashab al-Yamin calling on warriors of Islam to engage in jihad. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's a little bit before the war. Al-Saidi had posted Ashab al-Yamin branded propaganda videos claiming responsibility for the attacks, including video recordings from attacks against Jewish places or persons in Belgium, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom, according to federal prosecutors. The FBI said it took action after learning that al-Saidi was planning to expand Ashab al-Yamin's operations in the United States. He allegedly directed other individuals in an attempt to coordinate terrorist attacks in the U.S. against synagogues and other Jewish institutions across the country. He had also allegedly publicly threatened President Donald Trump and his family, and I don't think he did it in seashells. So, you get this guy who's running all these terrorists, and then you have this happen today as well. Senator Tom Cotton introduced a bill to revoke the visas of terrorist family members. Now, I'm all in favor of this because this death cult, sometimes they don't think about who's going to be left behind. Sometimes they think to themselves, well, I'm going to get paid to be a terrorist. Like, for example, the Palestinian Authority paid out millions of dollars to the October 7th terrorists. They've been paying terrorists for years and years and years. The Biden administration reinstated the money that funded those payments, which had been taken away by Trump administration number 1. Biden brought that money back. Oh, gee, why do you think they carried out terrorist attacks? Because they were being paid to do it. So now Senator Tom Cotton wants to say there are consequences for this. In Israel, if you are a terrorist, they destroy your house, and now your family doesn't have a house anymore. That's a new thing. Also, if you are a captured terrorist, Israel is now going to do the death penalty, which they didn't really have before, except for people like Adolf Eichmann, true Nazis. They didn't really do the death penalty, but now they realize they're tired of doing these prisoner deals. So for hostages or anything else, they want to remove the incentive. So now it's going to be, you're a terrorist, bye, like bye, Katie Wilson style. We're just going to do that. So Senator Tom Cotton has this proposal that says we're going to revoke the visas of terrorist families, which I completely agree with. Your family should not get to stay here in the U.S. if you are a terrorist. Do not coddle them. Do not harbor them. Do not incentivize this, because these people are planning very, very bad things. For the past few hours, there's been a protest in New York. It's a bunch of people waving Palestinian flags. It's a bunch of people waving Hamas flags. It's a bunch of people waving Hezbollah flags. And according to Fox News, a global network of anti-Israel activist groups is mobilizing, coordinating Nakba 78 protests across the United States and the world today, with organizers using the anniversary of Israel's founding to challenge the Jewish state's right to exist. Fox News found that 425 organizations, including communist groups, Muslim advocacy organizations, and anti-Israel activist coalitions attributed with blatant anti-Semitism, are working together in a coordinated transnational protest network with a combined funding footprint of about $1 billion in annual revenues. So if you're driving home today through the Seattle area and you see one of these protests, realize it's what we've been saying the whole time. It's the communist anarchist groups. It's the Muslim groups. It's the anti-Israel groups, because they just want the anarchy. They just want America to fall. So they use Israel as a linchpin. They use Israel as an excuse. The truth is, these guys will find any excuse. Oh, let's use the trans stuff. Oh, we don't like President Trump. Oh, we don't like this. The truth is, they don't like America. I'll remind you of what happened after Kamala and Joe Biden won the election. They went out and rioted and broke in the windows of the Starbucks at Pike Place Market. And they wrote on the sidewalk, Doesn't matter who wins. Rinse and repeat. These groups have organized an estimated 736 events across 39 countries this weekend, in locations including New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, London, Sydney. Organizers describe the demonstrations as marking the Nakba, an Arabic word for catastrophe, used by Palestinians to describe the founding of Israel on May 14th, 1948. Do you know why they call it the catastrophe? You had all the countries surrounding Israel didn't like the idea that the UN had said, yeah, those Jews, they deserve a state, so we're going to give them this little teensy tiny sliver here that's not even everything that Israel is now. So what happened? Egypt, Iran, Jordan, Iraq, Lebanon. Also, let's go kill the Jews. From the river to the sea, let's go kill all of them. And they lost. So the reason they call it the catastrophe, the Nakba, is because they failed in a massive genocide of a bunch of farmers and Holocaust survivors. They failed, so they call it the disaster. So when you hear the word Nakba, just think to yourself, Nakba that we weren't able to carry out a genocide. So you call that a catastrophe, I call that a win. Okay, so what happens? They go around going, oh, and we were displaced and all this. Yeah, you know why Palestinians were displaced during that? Not by the founding of the state of Israel, but because the Arab countries said, yeah, Palestinians, get out of the way. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to go in there. We're going to kill everything and everything that moves. And then you guys come back. And then you guys come back. But then they lost. So now you got a refugee problem on your hands. And nobody talks about the over 1 million Jews that were kicked out of Arab countries at the time. All those Arab countries kicked out their Jewish populations because they didn't like the idea of Israel. So now this stuff is being funded coast to coast. This stuff is being funded internationally. And it's all the radical left and radical Islam. Why do you think you're seeing so many Democrats who are Islamists running for office with the Democrat Socialists of America that are then going after the Democrat endorsement? Do you now understand the unholy marriage that's going on here between the radical left and the Islamists? By the way, same thing that happened in Iran to put the Ayatollah in power. This is the same thing that's happened across history. Use the dumb students. Use the far left radicals. Use the activists to get your agenda passed. And that is exactly what's going on here. These things are being funded coast to coast. And in fact, in New York City, the People's Forum, a pro-communist activist hub, and a 501c3 nonprofit funded by Marxist tech mogul Neville Roy Singham made signs at an art build for the protest today for the Nakba. Well, now Senator Marsha Blackburn, Republican of Tennessee, and a member of the Senate Judiciary and Finance Committee, told Fox News she is concerned that the Chinese Communist Party is part of this as well. Oh, gee, let's see. Everybody who doesn't like America is busy funding the things that are anti-America. And they're using Israel as the linchpin. They're using anti-Semitism as the linchpin. That is what they're doing. They're using it as the wedge issue to bring all these groups together so that they could take down Western civilization. You're watching it unfold before your eyes. So when you see those protests this weekend, realize that's what they're marching for. It has nothing to do with the Jews. It has everything to do with they want the end of Western civilization. Speaking of the end of Western civilization, I don't think the WNBA is going to take down Western civilization, but they did give us another reason not to watch them just this week. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Do you know the WNBA team in Minnesota? Wait a second. I didn't know there was a WNBA team in Minnesota. To be honest with you, I had no idea. So the Minnesota Lynx held a moment of silence for anti-ICE agitators Renee Good and Alex Preddy ahead of one of their games, where the team later went on to lose its first game of the season. Okay, according to the Post Millennial, prior to tip-off, the arena jumbotron displayed black and white images of both Good and Preddy. Did they have the what's-her-face music? In the arms of the angel, far away from here. Did they do that? Is that what it was? We continue to extend our love, support, and heartfelt sympathy to Renee and Alex's families, friends, and community because they were morons who decided to go fight with federal agents. Oh, wait, that wasn't on the screen there, was it? During the tribute, you could hear people yelling blank ice, prompting cheers from the crowd. The Minnesota Timberwolves did something similar. They had a January moment of silence for Good before fans started chanting against ice. Well, the NBA really wants us to watch their games, don't they now? Really, they're doing a great job of this. This is what they're doing. So the two people who went and attacked federal agents and got themselves killed doing it, you want us to feel bad for them? Yeah, there's this FAFO thing that kind of goes with that. But in addition to that, here's the other thing. Don't attack the police. Don't attack the police. You want to do an underground railroad for illegal aliens? I mean, it's illegal, and you'll probably get caught, but you're not helping. You're like that kid from The Simpsons. I'm helping. No, you're not. No, you're really, really not. You guys over on the text line, by the way, you guys are trouble. I cannot say the things you are writing on the text line. Just because Katie Wilson's new staff member's name is Esther Handy, I cannot make the jokes you want me to make with that. You guys are sick. Funny, but sick. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not nice. That's not nice. Yes, everybody's brain went there, but no. This one here regarding the new solar-powered bathrooms in Seattle that are coming in for the World Cup. See, when I hear solar-powered, I think to myself, how much power does a bathroom actually need? Isn't that more plumbing than anything else? Okay. Does it incinerate the poop? Is that what it does? Oh, anyway, this one here from the 206. Ari, back in the 1970s, we had hall monitors and bathroom monitors in junior high school. In spite of them, there was plenty of smoking in the boys' room. Yeah. I don't think the ambassadors, the Downtown Seattle Association ambassadors in their neon vests are equipped to deal with what's going to happen to the World Cup bathrooms. Not at all. Not at all. Switching gears over here. This one from the Daily Wire. You guys this is just too much. A 23-year-old woman in New York City said she did not want to cooperate with prosecutors after a man attacked her on the subway because she did not want to put another black man in jail. The same suspect is now accused of pushing a 76-year-old man to his death at a Chelsea station. The New York Post interviewed the unidentified woman who recounted a harrowing experience with a friend on Manhattan subway. On April 2nd, the suspect, Rommel Burke, a former Broadway dancer who fell off during the pandemic, approached the woman and her friend and tried to strike up a conversation. The two shut him down and tried to move to another subway car. The alleged attacker didn't take no for an answer. Burke, according to the woman, yanked on the back of her head and kicked her friend. Oh, isn't that nice? Quote, he comes up, kicked my friend in the back, basically pushes him through the transition of cars. By the way, in New York, if you haven't seen that before, it's scary walking between subway cars while they're moving. You're like outdoors on the track. You don't want to like do that if you have somebody attacking you or pushing you through there. She said my friend freaks out, runs away, then he grabs me by the head, pushes my head down, tries to maybe throw me on the ground, but I didn't. I resisted as much as I could. I didn't fall. And then I immediately opened up the car and ran towards my friend. The woman and her friend got off the train at West 4th Street, Washington Square Station in Greenwich Village. But Burke followed them. We started running a little bit. Thank God the cops were right there because we kept thinking, imagine there were no cops. Oh, imagine there were no cops. But then they seem to not have wanted to.
We don't have to imagine that.
Well, we have that right here. Right, exactly right. So what happens? They said they didn't want to press charges against him because that would put another black man in jail. So the guy who kicked your head and assaulted you and tried to throw you to the ground of a subway. And by the way, the grounds of subways are disgusting. Even when they were brand new, they were disgusting. And they were replacing all those things when I lived there. You didn't want to prosecute this guy. You didn't want to press charges on him because it might lead to the incarceration of a black man. Then, just a few months later, what does he do? He pushes the 70-year-old man down the steps at a train station, and the person's dead now. Dead. And now maybe they're rethinking their decision a little bit, given how dumb that was. She says, I regret it 100%. And I actually feel really bad that the man lost his life. Maybe a part of me was like, I don't want to put another black man in jail, but, at some point, if you're a criminal, you're a criminal. And he was scary. He was a scare. Oh, you don't say, do you? Oh, you want to put the criminals in jail. It's like when that anti-police ice cream shop around here, who had all these flavors against the police, called the police. They called 911 when somebody broke into their store. Yeah, this is the crazy world we live in. Now somebody's dead because of your woke nonsense. An old man is literally dead. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. This is the woke insanity. This one here, 253, stupid stuff supporting criminals. Yes! Yes, whether they're illegal aliens or whether they're here illegally and they're homegrown Broadway stars who apparently can't dance anymore. Then you have this. Somebody wants a cut of me singing for their ringtone, Kevin. They asked for that. They want my Sarah McLachlan impression. Kevin doesn't want to listen to that again.
I'm surprised. No, I'm surprised that they weren't confused that was the actual song.
I know.
It sounded that good.
So close. So close. Me and Sarah McLachlan, we're like this. Lots more to discuss as the show continues. Somebody I'm not like this with is Turd Ferguson. And apparently neither is Starbucks. They're moving out. Even more people than before. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass says we can fix all of LA's problems if only we give meth addicts new teeth. I kid you not. That's literally what she said. We'll deal with that a little bit later. But the other insanity that's happening closer to home, the Seattle Education Association, the largest teachers union in Washington. The teachers union just elected, the one that just elected a teacher who's suspended for child abuse, alleged child abuse, as its leader, is calling for a boycott of REI. Thank you, Pramila Jayapal. Appreciate that. Let's not forget it was a few days ago. She was talking about REI and how mad she was about REI. You remember all this? I mean, come on. Really? She's all mad about REI, one of the wokest companies on the planet.
I've been a member of REI for decades. REI grew up in Seattle, and it's important to a lot of us. But unfortunately, throughout this administration, we've seen way too many companies feel emboldened to blatantly violate workers' rights. REI has a chance to be different, like it's always been. And right now, it is falling way short. Refusing to reach a deal with your workers after years of bargaining is not leadership. It's a failure to respect the workers who built the company. REI leadership needs to change course immediately. Stop union busting and negotiate a fair contract in good faith. We, as your members, are watching, and we expect a lot better. REI, you can still choose to do the right thing. The path forward is simple. Stop breaking the law and give workers a contract. Check out rei.com for more.
Oh, stop breaking the law. That's not what's going on. What's going on is REI is having serious financial problems. Turns out in a down economy, people can't really justify paying a gajillion dollars for a tent when you can get something of high quality at Costco or Amazon or anywhere else. So your really, really expensive bicycles and helmets and the gear that makes it look like you're in Tour de France, but you don't actually have any sponsors. You know, the stuff I see the cyclists in Washington wearing all the time when I'm thinking about hitting them as I'm driving down the street, those guys. So you're not in the Tour de France, guys. I'm sorry. Pepsi is not sponsoring you. Sorry, definitely not REI. So in a down economy, you don't buy the $1,000 bicycle. You say, hey, does Toys R Us still have that like $200 bicycle section they used to have? Wait, there's no more Toys R Us. That's a problem. Who am I going to, Amazon? Somebody? Where can I get, eBay? Is there Craigslist around? You're not going to drop the money on that kind of stuff. So now REI is finally feeling the pinch from all these minimum wage requirements and everything else, and they can't afford to pay what they've been paying beforehand. Also, when Pramila Jayapal says she's been a member of REI for years, look, I've been a member of REI for years, and let me just tell you, I haven't been doing a lot of sports stuff recently. Every year I get my $3 coupon around the holiday season to go buy something because it's a co-op. But also, let's not forget, there's some people who have some REI guy that lasted forever because that's some pretty good stuff. I mean, Kevin, my snow boots that I bought when I was in 8th grade, I am still wearing today. Those are solid boots. Got them at REI. Those are some solid boots. Good stuff right there.
You still fit into your shoes from the 8th grade.
I do, sir. I do indeed. I have been this height since 8th grade. I shot up. I was in the back row of every picture, and I'm like, I'm going to be 6'5". This is going to be great. And then, nope. I went from being center to point guard in 1 year when everybody shot up freshman year of high school. That was the end of my basketball career.
I'm a big boy now.
Exactly. Yeah, those boots are great boots. You know which ones. If you saw them, you'd recognize them. They're the big brown ones with the fur around the top. That's the fake stuff. You know, we all had them in the 80s and 90s. The big rubbery soles.
I know what you're talking about.
You know which ones I'm talking about.
I almost thought you were doing that rap song, Boots with the Fur.
Oh, I definitely don't have with the fur. Yeah, the Tom Cruise song from Tropic Thunder. Yeah. No, that's how I know that song. That's about it. I was not doing the boots with the fur. Not doing that. Anyway, those things have lasted for 30 years. 30 years. More than 30 years now I've had those suckers. Let's be fair. I don't wear them that often. How often does it snow here in Seattle? Let's be real about that. Anywho, so now the teachers union is calling for a boycott of REI. So you want to boycott REI during their big sales event when they need the money to pay you guys. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays out for them. Are you kidding me with this? So do you think you think that REI sticks around in Seattle? You think they move out and follow other companies? Or you think they just fold? When was the last time I was in an REI? I think my daughter needed something the other day. That's right. She's playing volleyball now. She was looking for some kind of special sneaker, and I went to every store to find this thing. I'm a really good dad. Maybe that's why I spent all last Sunday in the car. Well, I wonder if they're going to go the way of Starbucks. Today, Starbucks announced another 300 corporate jobs. Gone. More layoffs. Some of them in the Seattle area. Just gone. Yeah, but tell me again how they're not leaving and they're staying and they're keeping a presence here. Why are they hiring 2,000 people in Nashville, but they're firing other people in other parts of the country? That's a real head scratcher. Can somebody explain that one to me? I don't know how I figure this out. This is a really, really tough one. So they're laying off support staff. Support staff. That's fascinating. Support staff. What is support staff? Does that mean janitors? Does that mean custodians? What does support staff mean? Well, it means that you've got a lot of people leaving. You've got a lot of people leaving. And they used to just say they were all in technology. Now they're saying they're in support staff. Yeah, I think that what you're talking about is you're just saying, okay, we're just going to get rid of as many people as we can everywhere else because we're now opening this big headquarters in Nashville. I think it'd be kind of fun to go to Nashville. We could see how Starbucks corporate is doing, see how their new campus is, talk to the governor, perhaps, out there in Tennessee, talk to the mayor of Nashville and say, hey, why are you guys so successful? And they'll say, well, you know what? We give tax credits. We reward job creation. Whereas Turd Ferguson, he says, give me all your money. I want all your money. I want every dime you have. And then when you gave me some of your money, I want the rest of your money. I want all the money. Give me all the things. Give me all the money. Yeah, I think that's what's going on right now, don't you? That's what's happening. So when you incentivize jobs, people actually go to these places. But then when you don't, and when instead you say, oh, no, we're going to penalize jobs, you get things like this. According to Starbucks, we are taking further action under the Back to Starbucks strategy, building on our strong business momentum and working to return the company to durable, profitable growth. So you're cutting things that aren't profitable, like a headquarters in Seattle where you get taxed for every high-paying job you have. Leaders have taken a hard look at their respective functions to further sharpen focus, prioritize work, reduce complexity, and lower costs. Oh, you mean like getting rid of union stores because they keep protesting all the time and they want more money all the time, and you know what? They're pouring coffee. When did it become a thing that being somebody who pours coffee is the forever job you have? That's the job you have while you're working your way through college. That's the job you have when you're first starting out and you're in graduate school. That's not meant to be a life career. You're supposed to work your way up the corporate ladder if you go do something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't every Starbucks employee have to learn how to make coffee? As I understand it, in their own buildings, they don't have the Starbucks for the employees. They have an area where you can make all the Starbucks stuff. I think that's the way they do it here. They said, as a result, we're eliminating approximately 300 U.S. support roles. We're also reviewing our international support organizations. We focus on being a world-class licensor and expect additional role impacts outside the U.S. We are streamlining our real estate footprint, including consolidating U.S. regional support office space and taking several other steps with leases and lease commitments. Hang on a second. Does Starbucks own that building? No, that's a lease commitment. Fascinating. They're not the only ones, by the way. LinkedIn, which is owned by Microsoft, announced that they're laying off a bunch of people, though I think that's more, does anybody actually use LinkedIn? I know I auto-post to LinkedIn because why not? But does anybody really use it? It's just a glorified resume at this point, right?
Yeah, unless you're looking for a gig.
That's it.
Yeah, like mine's so stagnant. I mean, I've been here for 26 years.
Yeah.
Or whatever I'm going on now. And sometimes I'll get an email saying someone wants to connect on there or something, and I have to go try and log in and then have them send me a thing to reset my password. Then I get on there and I look at my picture and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I look at mine and I'm like, holy cow, I had hair. Yeah. Look at that. That's back when Fox News was inviting me on all the time, and I'm sitting there in the Fox News studio.
And then I also look at the title, my job title. I'm like, oh, that's old. And then I don't want to update it because the job title has changed like 3 years ago. And then if you update it, everyone's like, congratulations. Like, no, it was 3 years ago, but I'm lazy and I don't get on here enough. So,
exactly.
Yeah, that's my LinkedIn experience.
Wait. Do you get the messages like, hey, your resume perfectly fits this college where you should go for graduate school classes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get those all the time. Actually, I shouldn't not mock those because I had the notifications on for LinkedIn. I don't know why I do, but I have the notifications on for LinkedIn. It buzzed in my pocket when I was at that Kraken game with my wife and my daughter. My wife. And what happens? I go to check the LinkedIn, and there's Howard Schultz's post right there, which said he was leaving. And guess who got to break the news? So I guess I shouldn't knock LinkedIn too much because Howard Schultz uses it.
I also like when I get a notification like, someone's hiring for a radio tech. And you're like, what? And you click on it, and you're like, it's like some sort of radiologist at a hospital is like, oh, yeah,
that's not what it is.
Different radio.
That's not what it is. Or it's always something like, this may work out for you, but not for me. It's always something like board op producer position. And I'm like, I don't know what any of those buttons do. I got my on, off, and my dump button or whatever it is. That's what I know how to use in here. I do not know how to use any of that. Yeah, so LinkedIn, perhaps it's maybe because not as many people use LinkedIn as used to use LinkedIn. That's just a thought. And Microsoft probably figured, we don't need to spend this many people on it. So now they're laying off people as well. Then there's this. We know a lot of this is being caused by the income tax around here. And story after story from the center square. TJ Martinell, Carlene Johnson, they've been just absolutely killing it with these stories. Well, now they found out that Washington Attorney General's office officials described the state Supreme Court as a favorable venue, as we're likely to get, to thwart a referendum on the new millionaire tax. So is this collusion? Is that what it is? I thought the Attorney General is supposed to be representing us. I thought they're supposed to be defending our best interest, and income tax is not in our best interest. Yet Deputy Solicitor General Carl Smith, who clerked for the court from 2009 through 2012, according to his LinkedIn profile. Oh, wait, Kevin, this is what LinkedIn's good for. So we can figure out who troublemakers are and figure out who they work for, right? That's what LinkedIn's good for. Okay. Now I understand.
Well, I don't do the doxing like you, but it might work for you.
It's not doxing if it's public information. I'm just sharing their profiles and the dumb stuff they write online. In fact, a judge said so. That's right, judge. Legaled. That's right. Anyway, he hypothesized that justices might also want to punt to the voters about whether to uphold the tax so they could avoid having to make the decision themselves. Quote, giving the people a chance to reject it by a referendum might be an attractive option to justices who want to punt on the constitutional question, Smith wrote to the Solicitor General Noah Purcell in April 7th draft response to Let's Go Washington's lawsuit filed against the Secretary of State's office after it rejected a referendum on the millionaire's tax. The Secretary of State's office emailed Wednesday afternoon to say they mistakenly released the records. They said the Office of the Secretary of State provide you with records in response to your public request number that OSOS has determined that certain attorney-client privilege documents were inadvertently included in the records provided. So this was going to be attorney-client privilege, and you accidentally leaked them to the center square in a public disclosure request? Oh, this is just delicious. Somebody's getting fired over this. The email requests that the center square delete and not report on the released records. How about no? But the Newswire declined to do that because the records were newsworthy and exposed behind-the-scenes actions about a significant issue that is of public interest to the taxpayers. One of the arguments contained in the draft document was that the court should reject hearing the case because petitioners have a plain, speed, and adequate remedies at law. Smith wrote in the draft document to Purcell that from your email, I understood you were disciplined to make this argument, noting that Supreme Court is as favorable a venue as we're likely to get. The state Supreme Court ultimately ruled against Let's Go Washington. Attorney Joel Ard, who represented Let's Go Washington the case before the Supreme Court, said the court was wrong, but it was not appropriate for the Attorney General's staff to have these discussions. Said we're still in the position where we think the Supreme Court, got it wrong, he told the Center Square, after the Newswire described the documents obtained. It's interesting to see the Attorney General politicizing the court. He added that this isn't the first case I've lost before the state Supreme Court. And of course, I think that they got those wrong. But doesn't it kind of feel like the deck is kind of stacked a little bit against everything these days? To me, it does. The Citizen Action Defense Fund has filed a lawsuit against the millionaire's tax, whose legal team includes former State Attorney General Rob McKenna and former State Supreme Court Justice Phil Talmadge. CADF Executive Director Jackson Maynard, who's also my attorney, said the emails show the importance of the coming election to fill open Supreme Court seats. He said it's another peek behind the curtain. The fact that they are viewing the current court as favorable venue for them, I think, is telling, and it highlights the fact that the majority of the court is on the ballot is going to be really, really important. He said the line about the referendum and whether the court might be willing to essentially use a referendum as a way to avoid the discussion of the constitutionality of the case just shows that, unfortunately, this is more of a political question rather than an issue of ensuring the right people to vote on the legislation is upheld. The right of the people to vote on the legislation is upheld. Let me explain the difference for those of you who haven't been following this that closely. What happens is if there's a bill you don't like or something you don't like in the state, you can do a referendum on it. And a referendum is very, very easy. You need less signatures. But the problem is anytime you put an emergency clause on a bill you enact, you can't do a referendum. Anytime you do that. So what happens now is when you do this emergency clause on the income tax, which isn't going to affect for 3 years, how is it an emergency then? Clearly, this is a violation. Clearly, this is violating the spirit of the law. So Let's Go Washington was bringing the case going, why don't we get to do a referendum on this guy? Because the thing's 3 years away, so why are you putting an emergency clause on it? That's just wrong. An initiative is harder to do. Plus, the Attorney General gets to weigh in on, the Secretary of State gets to weigh in on what the ballot title should be. And also, you have to collect a lot more signatures. They did this purposely. They did this purposely. This is the whole thing. Doesn't it feel like a stacked deck a little bit? That's why you guys need to make sure that you're going to sign these petitions to repeal the income tax. In fact, me and Brandy Cruz are going to be out with Let's Go Washington on Sunday. We're going to be out in Bellevue. I posted all the information over my social media, Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram, The Hoffather over on Twitter. You can come out and you can see us. And you can sign the initiatives to repeal the income tax. I know a lot of you have been asking about it. We're going to be out there in Bellevue on Sunday. The information's all there. It's all up on Let's Go Washington's website. You can find out the address. You can find out the details. We're going to be out there. You can come see us. We'll say hi. You can take pictures with us. It'll be lots of fun. We're going to be out there from, I believe it is 11 to 2, something like that out there. So come see us. The details are over on the website for Let's Go Washington. They're over on their social media channels. You can find it. But we need to repeal the income tax. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Chris in Bonnie Lake. Chris, what's up, man?
Hey, buddy. Happy Friday.
Yeah.
So, I would be very happy if REI left because do you know who's giving all of the drug addicts free tents?
Well, here's the thing.
That would be REI, my friend.
Chris, I'm not sure they're giving them the free tents. I think they're stealing the free tents, or the activists are buying the tents from them. And let's be real, okay? Let's be real. If they're buying the tents from REI or stealing the tents from REI, they're just going to find somewhere else to do that from. I mean, yes, they'll have less options, and it's harder to steal stuff from Costco, but Amazon's still there, right?
Right. Well, they may not be still getting them, but I remember back in the day, and I've been here for 5 years, REI was very proud of giving away like 10,000 tents.
Wait a second. REI used to actually brag about this?
I heard, yes, indeed.
Now I have to go do some Googling after the show. I'm not saying you're wrong, Chris, but now I got to go find this because then I'll just chuckle a lot if I can find the news articles on that. In fact, if anybody out there in our chevra, in our crowd outside, has these links to these articles, email them to ari@kvi.com or text me at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Chris, appreciate the call. You have a wonderful weekend, my friend.
Have a great day, buddy.
Yep. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Did they actually give out the tents? Oh, that would just be delicious. Absolutely delicious. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from John. John, what's going on, man?
Hello, Ari. I think the most cost-effective and most visible way to get public opinion changed on this and in line with what should happen is bumper stickers. And we have to find adhesive paper stock and the most efficient way of printing and diversify it so they can't come back and claim in-kind contribution.
Okay, well, here's the thing with the bumper stickers. Most people don't want to put bumper stickers on their cars anymore. They want those big magnets. But I hear what you're saying. You got to make sure it's everywhere. And actually, if you want to make sure they're doing it, actually reach out to Let's Go Washington and say you'd like to sponsor them. Or get some friends that want to sponsor them so they can send them out to people, or give a donation to Let's Go Washington. Then you can get these things out of here. Oh, my God, the PDC is going to hear me shilling for this. And they're going to think it's some kind of campaign violation, right? Yeah, that's what they're going to do. I assume it's only a matter of time. Next week, so they went after Brandy Cruz and Let's Go Washington this week. Does that mean there's going to be something coming after me next week? We know this is how it goes, right?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it either.
Doubt it.
I got to figure out what they're going to do with this. So I just got to look at the Seattle. Well, I don't want to look at the Seattle Times. Maybe Jim Bruner. When Jim Bruner calls me for comment on something, then I'll know what's going down. John, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friends, Mayor Karen Bass of Los Angeles says the way to fix the massive homeless problem down there is just give all the meth addicts new teeth. I kid you not. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Do you think that giving meth addicts new teeth, because when you do meth, you destroy your teeth, just ask Hunter Biden, do you think that's going to solve all their problems, or you think they'll just rot out whatever comes next? Well, apparently Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass thinks the reason she hasn't been successful with the homeless is she hasn't given them new teeth yet. I kid you not. This is what she said.
How many people who are unhoused that you meet have no teeth at all? They don't have teeth. Why? Because meth rots your teeth. You can't succeed without teeth. So there needs to be comprehensive health care provided to people.
Yeah, let's give them health care. Let's do that. We're going to give everybody dental too. Kevin, I don't do the health plans around here, but I assume the dental is the more expensive thing. Hey, if we're giving out free dental, can I get free dental? Oh, wait a minute. Hang on a second. My friends in Canada get free dental, and yet they're bringing their kids down here all the time. Why do you think that is? Survey says, yes. We know exactly why that is. Because you get what you pay for, especially when something's free. You get what you pay for, and it ain't exactly great. It's just not. So, this is what she thinks is going to solve the problem. This is not going to solve the problem at all. At all. But she thinks it's going to. This one here from the 253. Do you really want zombies with teeth? Yeah, that's not going to work out well for anybody. It's really not. Meanwhile, LA Council member Hernandez says her office is building a community defense network. What does this mean exactly, community defense network? Is it to defend against the zombies? Oh, no, the illegal aliens. That's what it is. It's to defend them. Not us from the criminals or the drug dealers, but defend them from ICE, right?
I was one of the co-authors of the Sanctuary City Ordinance. And, people are pissed in the beginning because they're like, we're Sanctuary City. Why are they still here? And we had to explain that, it doesn't put a wall between us and the federal government. I've invested $500,000 in rental assistance because of a lot of our folks that were kidnapped were the breadwinners for their family, were our vendors. And so we don't want to see more people fall into the eviction to homelessness pipeline.
Kidnapped. People kidnapped. You mean criminals arrested by ICE? Is that what you're talking about? But you're saying kidnapped? They say that for Maduro, too, even though they had all these sanctions on him. They say kidnapped also. Yeah, they're messed up priorities here.
So we're helping pay back rent, $400,000 in food assistance.
Wait. You're paying rent for the families of the illegal alien criminals that get arrested by ICE? No wonder LA has such horrible financial problems.
My district was already one where we were giving out 2,000 bags of food every month. We had to increase that to 4,000 bags of food every month.
Wait, so now you're giving out food and rent to the families of illegal alien criminals that are getting deported. Do I have that right?
A lot of people are hungry for a political home and a place to organize, a place to get informed. And I think DSA is one of those places.
Whoa. So now you think people are hungry. I thought she was going to say, yeah, we'll get them free food. No, politically? So you're trying to encourage them to join the Democratic Socialists of America. Here's something else. Are you encouraging illegal aliens to vote? That's what it sounds like to me. That's what this sounds like to me. This is an LA City Council member.
That we need that is that place for a lot of us. But I think we have to start employing more tactics to make that table bigger and more accessible. They're being terrorized now, but people were already hungry. People were already in the eviction to homelessness pipeline.
Hang on a second. You want to expand. You want to have a bigger tent for the Democratic Socialists of America. That's what's happening right now. They're infiltrating everywhere. I want you to look at who signed up to run for office and who they affiliate with. They love saying they're members of the Democratic Socialists of America. They love saying that. But they don't really have their own party. So what they do is they latch on to the Democrat Party and try and get their endorsements. I'm curious how many DSA candidates are going to have the Democrat Party endorsement. We have some craziness in this state where Republicans won't even endorse libertarians if they happen to make it through the primary. You guys got a lot in common, but party rules usually prevent you from doing that, not the Democrats. The Democrats say, well, at least they have the word Democratic in it, so we'll take them. Even though they support Hamas, even though they support socialism, even though they support communism, let's do that. Let's do that, right?
Under neoliberalism, under Democrats that we have right now, we are a sanctuary city. But time and time again, we saw LAPD doing things that looked like they were enabling federal immigration enforcement. The first 3 weeks of the raids, we were literally battling to prevent martial law from taking over the city.
Wait a second. Is she saying the current Democrats in Los Angeles, the city, the county, in California, are too warm and fuzzy for them? So what they want instead is they want more DSA members taking over the Democrat Party. That's what she's saying.
And I don't think people understood the gravity of things. They were setting up traps for us to try to engage, to have them bring the National Guard to declare martial law.
No, you lunatics were out there attacking them and setting things on fire, throwing Molotov cocktails. You guys were setting Waymo cars on fire. You were ordering the Waymos and then setting them on fire. They were setting traps for you. You were setting traps for them.
That, people protesting, they were expressing themselves, right?
Expressing themselves by lighting cars on fire. Expressing themselves by blocking freeways. They were just express yourself. Like Madonna says, express yourself.
Using their First Amendment rights. And
First Amendment rights to light the Waymos on fire.
And what we saw was LAPD did everything in their power to suppress that.
Yes. Lighting cars on fire is bad. Breaking in the windows of stores is bad. Blocking freeways is bad. Attacking law enforcement is bad. You bet they suppress that.
Because of the way the city constitution is written, I can't tell LAPD what policies to draft or how to implement.
Thank God. Thank God you can't.
We have organizations like Chidlan Carecen who have been doing this work for decades.
So these are the organizations we should look into for helping illegal aliens. Thank you. Note taken.
They have set up, and Unión del Barrio have set up some phenomenal rapid response networks.
Excellent. Another one. Thank you. Just keep giving the names. Noted. Thank you so much.
Me and my team have built up a community defense network to work with that network. So we've trained hundreds of people in partnership with an organization called Con Mi Gente to train people up on how to respond to federal immigration raids.
So you're training foot soldiers to go attack the feds. That's what it is? Wonderful. Sounds like things are really working out really, really well down there in Los Angeles. Well, it's not like they're better or closer here to home. When we come back, my friends, a new lawsuit against Seattle public schools. We have the girl who's suing them for rampant discrimination. We'll hear her story when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Tell them what was going on, and did they try to help you?
Yeah, so earlier on, I was really scared, and I spoke with my parents, and they were really scared. So we ultimately, for a while, didn't say anything, and it was only really my senior year when I sort of had enough and also was graduating that I did start talking to. I spoke to teachers and like the school nurse and the social worker, and yeah, I got like various responses, but none of them were helpful or very supportive.
Did you feel like that was because you were Jewish? Did it feel like they were worried about something? Did it feel like it was baked into the cake of the school of just they figured, well, all these students are doing this, we can't really do anything about it? Because in the lawsuit, it has these quotes from the social worker who's from the University of Washington, who sounds like a graduate student, who just kind of blew the whole thing off and said, well, yeah, that's the way it is around here. Was that what you were dealing with?
I had a mix of things. I had teachers that told me they had no idea what I was talking about. And then I had, like people that were just like, we know it's happening, I don't know what to do about it type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think those were the two biggest responses.
Gotcha. And so the administration, the principal, anybody, did they even get involved, or you didn't really hear much from them because the teachers that said, well, we know what's going on, but we can't really do much about it, they were kind of taking that approach with it?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything from the administration, whether the teachers, spoke to administration or not. I don't know. I never heard anything from them. Yeah.
Well, Alex, you're very brave for coming forward. You're in college now, and hopefully your college is a much better environment than it was over at the high school. And I hope this works out in your favor because unfortunately, your story is not unique. Your story is one we've been covering for the last 3 years now, since October 7th, of what's been going on in the schools. And actually, we were covering some stuff that was happening long before then. So, Alex, I'm really proud of you for coming forward. You're very brave. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us today. And I'm really sorry for what you went through.
Thank you.
Wish we could have you back next time under better circumstances. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. We call out the hypocrisy of Democrats all the time. We call out the double standards of Democrats all the time. But there's one today amongst Republicans that's bothering me. So the roast of Kevin Hart, a new special for Netflix. I guess they're not doing these on Comedy Central anymore. I have not watched it yet. But they filmed it the other night, or they started releasing it the other night. And people started putting out clips of this thing. Now, 2 or 3 nights ago when this thing first came out, every conservative who does clickbait was mad. Were there a few tasteless jokes? Absolutely. Have you ever watched the roasts before? You ever see the movie The Aristocrats, where it's all the comedians telling the one joke over and over again? The point of The Aristocrats was to gross each other out, to make each other laugh, to see how many awful things you could say. At these roasts, when you put 20 comedians up on the stage to roast whoever it is, that's the whole point. To say the most awful things. Does it mean I'm not going to watch Shane Gillis again because he made an anti-Israel joke? No, it was one joke. Does it mean I'm not going to watch these guys again because they made one Charlie Kirk joke? No, I thought it was tasteless. I thought both jokes were tasteless. But you know what? The rest of their sets I thought were kind of funny, the little clips that I saw. And I actually plan on watching the thing on Saturday night. But the problem I have is that the very same people who are like, this is awful, this is wrong, look what they said. As soon as they say something they agree with, then they post it all over the internet. Tony Hinchcliffe is a comedian you might know, you might not know. Tony Hinchcliffe is the guy behind Kill Tony. The shtick with Kill Tony is they bring a couple comedians up on stage who are named comedians. And those comedians make fun. They bring out another comedian to do a 1 minute, 2 minute set, and they make fun of the comedian afterwards for the set that they just did. That is Kill Tony's shtick. I don't think Tony Hinchcliffe is that funny on his own. I think he does a good job with whoever he brings on stage. That's my personal take on him. He's the one that everybody got mad about when he compared Puerto Rico to a island of floating garbage. And that started the Joe Biden saying Trump supporters are garbage, and then Trump with a garbage truck. That's Tony Hinchcliffe. That's who he is.
I don't get how these guys can keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And the same stupid people say the same thing about them saying the same thing over and over again. They do it as well.
Yes.
And then it makes news, and here we are again.
Yes. And then, like, for example, just a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Dave Chappelle. So the right was in love with Dave Chappelle 5 minutes ago. And then he says a couple dumb things. And that's, we hate Dave. He's a comedian. And I personally don't like his stand-up. I never really liked him. I certainly don't like a lot of his politics. He was just calling things out. Comedians observe what's going on in the world, and they call them out. And if you're funny and you're successful, you get away with it. If you're not funny and you're not successful, you get canceled.
Right.
That's basically it, right?
And this guy, obviously, he knows what he's doing when he says this stuff.
Yes.
And I love that, you know, the people that protest or have to bring it up and highlight it are like, oh, can you? It's like, yeah, dummy. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yes.
And you're doing exactly what he wants you to do.
And you're helping him get the clicks.
Yes.
So here's what bothered me today. Well, Tony Hinchcliffe, he made a joke. It's the roast of Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart, for those of you who don't know, short black comedian. That's who he is. I find him hysterical. I think Kevin Hart is really funny. I also like when he does movies with The Rock. I like that stupid Central Intelligence movie. So here was the joke Tony Hinchcliffe made at the roast.
You've done good, though, Kevin. The black community is so proud of you right now. George Floyd is looking up at us all, laughing so hard that he can't breathe.
Okay. For the record, Kevin Hart is laughing his you-know-what off sitting right next to him. Every conservative who was mad about this roast 2 days ago because of the anti-this or anti-that clips that came out were sharing this today. They were sharing this today. Why were they sharing this today? Because BLM had a press conference. They were so offended by this. So they shared this with the press conference.
Again, it is not a laughing matter. We are here today to call your attention to the fact that an egregious, disgusting joke was made about George Floyd. Here we are about to memorialize George Floyd for year 6 after his brutal murder at the hands of the Minneapolis Police Department, our community is still experiencing grief and trauma. We have young people in our community who were children at the time, they're now teenagers, still dealing with the impacts of the police killing of George Floyd. And instead of allowing our community to grieve in peace, to celebrate George Floyd in peace, we have Netflix comedians making light of the brutal killing of George Floyd. It is unacceptable and it is unconscionable.
You know what's going to happen now? A whole bunch of people after your little press conference are going to go, this was on Netflix? What'd they say? What'd they say? Where was it? They're going to Google it. They're going to look for the clips. They're going to find it on social media. What'd they say? What'd they say? And guess who's going to get all the hits? Netflix, Tony Hinchcliffe. Because what inevitably is going to happen, somebody's going to watch that thing, who's black, and do exactly what Kevin Hart did. Laugh their you-know-what's off. And they're going to go, I don't know who this Tony Hinchcliffe guy is, but he's pretty funny. I should see what else he's got. I saw John Mulaney host Saturday Night Live one time, just by accident. I saw the clips. I go, this guy's really funny. I wonder what else he has. Oh my God, there's a whole treasure trove of this stuff on Netflix. Shane Gillis, he does this Trump impression. I don't know who he is. Oh, look at all this amazing stuff he's got. That's what's going to happen. But I hate the hypocrisy of the right being mad about this roast 2 days ago, because none of them actually watched the whole thing. They waited for the rage bait. And then when this stuff comes out, the same people, the very same people who were mad 2 days ago are now sharing all this. Guys, don't be like the Democrats. Have some standards, please. This makes us look bad. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, is the New World Order actually a really, really good thing that Trump's bringing us after his trip to China? We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, a shakeup in Katie Wilson's administration ain't gonna save her from her bad policies. But before we get to any of that, my friends, President Trump just got back from China. And while he was gone, we saw a lot more of J.D. Vance. A lot more of J.D. Vance doing rallies, going around the country. And I think I know why that is. According to a new poll, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has opened a very big lead over Vice President J.D. Vance in a new national poll of potential Republican presidential candidates for 2028. The Atlas Intel survey, conducted from May 4th through 7th, found Rubio with a 45.4% support among Republican voters. Vance was second with only 29.6%, and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was third with 11.2%. Now, this is a huge difference from what we saw in December when Vance had 46.7% and Rubio had 22.6%. Do you think this is possibly because people have seen all the wins on the international stage and they said Rubio's our guy? Do you think it's the memes of J.D. Vance have kind of died off, but the memes of Rubio have continued to grow? Okay, the couch meme of Marco Rubio, where he is sitting on the couch and people keep putting him in different situations, different outfits, whatever it is, because he just looks mad at the world. That's my favorite one. In fact, I've made a few of those myself. When the Mets were having problems, I put Marco Rubio in a Mets uniform. It says, Marco Rubio, when he finds out he has to be the Mets first baseman or he has to be the Mets manager or whatever the case may be. In fact, it's gotten so crazy that there's a guy in my synagogue who I've nicknamed Little Marco because he just keeps getting assigned all the jobs, because you always give the jobs to the busiest person because they're always good at getting them done. He just keeps getting assigned all the jobs. So this friend of mine, we now took out Marco Rubio, put the friend in, and now we're putting the friend with the different outfits we've been doing. So, yes, this meme is legs. I don't think Marco Rubio's winning because of memes. I think Marco Rubio's winning because you're seeing more and more people are waking up to the fact of how competent he is. It's not just that he has 6 jobs. It's how he does them. It's how eloquent he is when discussing them. It's how mature he seems, how he seems like a natural leader. So here's one for you. This was a deal that he negotiated. The ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. Israel and Lebanon aren't at war. I mean, they are. But it's really Israel and Hezbollah, the terrorist organization that runs Lebanon. So if you can get to a place where Lebanon and Israel are working together to get rid of Hezbollah inside of Lebanon, now guess what? That's the last terror organization in the Middle East. Basically, Hamas is almost non-existent now. They're mopping up Hamas. So you get rid of Hezbollah and you're done. The few of them that still have fingers and other pieces of their anatomy left after Operation Grim Reaper. But that was a deal negotiated by Marco Rubio. Look at all the deals. Anytime Marco Rubio goes somewhere, you get clear, concise. You get the whole plan completely laid out. I love Marco Rubio. So I want to ask you a question. Do you want to see Marco Rubio at the top of the ticket in 2028? Do you want to see him for vice president? Do you want to see J.D. Vance at the top of the ticket? Do you want to throw Ron DeSantis back in the mix? Give us a call or a text with who you want to see the ticket be in 2028. Give me a call or a text and let me know who you want to see for that ticket, the Republican ticket in 2028. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the KVI studio line. Take a call from Gerald in Federal Way. Gerald, what's going on?
Well, now that you mentioned it, if I'm liking Marco, JD's kind of in the background, in the shadow, unfortunately. But anyway, I'm wondering what's wrong with nuclear-powered restrooms in Seattle. You know, we can do better than solar-powered. You know, if there's no sun that day, they won't flush. And, you know, you've probably heard they're changing West Palm Beach Airport to John Day Trump Airport. And
yeah.
So, and China has the Great Hall where they have all their big-time meetings. Well, I want to be the first to nominate. We call the new White House ballroom the Great Hall of Trump.
I like that. Why don't we just call it the Big Ball of Trump? Well, it's the ballroom, right? Why don't we just do that?
Whoever we irritate the most.
Okay, think about that. Wait a second. Can we name all the portable bathrooms after Turd Ferguson? We just call them all Fergusons? So all the bathrooms now are going to be Fergusons in Seattle. I mean, he was very excited about these things. Can we just call them Fergusons? How about we do that?
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll do that. Gerald.
The one will be the big turd, Ferguson.
Whichever one's the biggest one, that'll be the biggest turd. Gerald, thank you for putting a smile on my face heading into the weekend. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Marino says over on the KVI text line, hey, Ari, I think Rubio is a better candidate and has the opportunity to be president. Not sure about Vance. I don't know if he can win. You know what I think it is? Democrats, now mind you, whoever the Republicans nominate, Democrats are going to paint as the devil himself or herself. They're going to paint them as Nazi, as Hitler, as whoever it is. That is what they do. I mean, you want a clear evidence of this? Remember the names they called George W. Bush? You remember all things? Oh, he's terrible. He's awful. He's dumb. He's stupid. And then when he's out of office, he comes on The View. Oh, we love you, George W. Bush. They trashed him all the time. That he's hugging the Obamas. Oh, they ran against his policies. Literally ran against him, trashed him that entire campaign. We love you. Let's do hugs. Let's do hugs. So you know they're going to do that to Marco Rubio. I got a lot of Democrat friends who tell me all the time, why can't you guys just nominate Marco Rubio? And you know what my answer always is? Because you guys will demonize him no matter who the Republicans nominate. That's what you're going to do. We go back to the KVI studio line, take a call from Mike in Everett. Mike, what's going on?
Well, I think both are very strong candidates.
Yeah.
And personally, I would like to see Marco Rubio. He's a little older, so JD could be after him because he still has the youth. But both of them are great, and I think it would be awesome for JD Vance to be Marco Rubio's Secretary of State. I know he probably wouldn't want to go down from Vice President to Secretary of State, but imagine the job he could accomplish if he took that.
I agree.
He'd be all over in the world.
I agree. Here's the thing. The reason Marco Rubio is getting more attention because what does a vice president actually do? A vice president doesn't do much. Their only job is to have a pulse in case something happens to the actual president. But you're seeing these cabinet members do these great things. Whether you like him or whether you hate him, you're talking about RFK Jr. all the time. You're talking about Marco Rubio all the time. You're talking about all these different cabinet secretaries. You're talking about them all the time. Nobody talks about what the vice president is doing. So Trump gives J.D. Vance this fraud task force, and he's doing a good job with it. But here's something else to think about, is that you have to overcome the trend where vice presidents typically don't win after the president also. So actually, I think the smartest thing for J.D. Vance to do is actually take a little hiatus or go become Secretary of State or something like that. And then you're 100% right. Let Marco Rubio go. And then you bring in J.D. Vance next. That's my opinion. Mike, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Mark, over on the text line, says he wants Vance Rubio. This one here from the 360 says they want Rubio at the top. Pam in Lake Stevens says Rubio is a great candidate. See, this is what's happening. It's shifting. Even back in December when I asked you guys these questions, a lot more of you were saying Vance, Vance, Vance. This is what is showing up in the polling. This is exactly what's showing up in the polling. So, yeah, you can continue to text us. You can continue to call us at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Now, big news today after Trump's China trip. So what happened? Forget what you're hearing about the stock market and the tech world and all that. I want you to think about this. This was the news that got buried today. OPEC, the Arab consortium that controls all the oil in the Middle East, they all decide whether to raise prices, lower prices. A few days ago, we found out that the UAE, United Arab Emirates, was leaving OPEC. Why? They say, hey, a lot of oil ain't coming out of Iran right now. We have a chance to make more money. Let's pump more oil. Let's sell more oil. Let's make more money. OPEC didn't want to do it. And they go, bye. Just like Katie Wilson, like, bye. We're out of here. So that's what they did. Well, now OPEC might be breaking apart. Why? Because other countries are saying, well, if they're going to go make all this money, we want to make all this money too. If China can't get their oil from Iran, they can just get it from us. We'll sell it to them. Look at all these countries that want oil. If Europe can't get it, we'll sell it to them. We want to sell this. And now you have a massive restructuring of the world order. A massive, massive, massive restructuring. because they're saying, hey, we like the United States, but if we could sell to Europe and they don't have to go all the way to the United States, that's cheaper, that's quicker, let's do this. Let's do this. Secretary Wright was talking about after the China trip, he was talking about what's happening with oil and gas right now.
Yeah, I think a good chunk of that is President Trump's energy dominance agenda. And the world knows he's all in growing supply. The United States is going to grow our supply of crude oil and refined products. So while we have a temporary interruption, and it's a meaningful interruption, but to end Iran's threat of getting a nuclear weapon, that would be decades of threat to global energy markets, to peace and prosperity in the world. So President Trump's willing to lean in there. Yes, it's disruptive in the short term, but to end their ability to get a nuclear weapon and have the U.S. continue to grow our production and supply, I think people realize this is not a new world. This is a bump on the road, and we'll get through it.
That's what we hope. That's what we hope. Because a lot of people right now are just going, dude, I thought things were going to get cheaper. I thought my gas was going to be cheaper. I thought my groceries are going to be cheaper, but the prices are going up and up and up. And the average American is not following international politics. The average American has no idea Trump even went to China. The average American doesn't understand this. They definitely don't understand what's going on with liquefied natural gas. They really don't understand LNG at all.
Yeah, we're continuing to ramp up U.S. natural gas exports. It'll be a record again this year. It was a record last year. We're up to about 20 BCF a day of natural gas that we export, which is roughly double the second and third largest exporters of natural gas, Qatar being one of those two countries. So it is tough to have lost that 10 BCF a day of gas exports right now, but we're adding about 2.5 BCF a day of export capacity in the United States just this year. So a quarter of that will be filled by growth from U.S. exports today. Now, of course, demand is growing too. Price mechanism right now is going to reduce the growth of LNG this year. But that's a temporary interruption. Traffic will be flowing through the Straits of Hormuz, as soon as we can, but certainly sometime this summer at latest.
See, these are the things that most people aren't paying attention to. So now if you've removed Iran from the equation, now if OPEC's breaking apart and countries are doing their own thing, guess what? There's going to be more supply. And if there's more supply, there's less demand. And if there's less demand and more supply, guess what? Prices get cheaper. You are seeing a major reorganization of that because everybody realizes if Iran's out of the game, look how many customers you can pick up right now. This is huge. Absolutely huge. And the fact that China is trying to figure out who to get it from instead of their evil ally, Iran. This is an opportunity to bring China more into the global markets. Now, here's the problem, is that if you really want to put China back on its heels, you got to keep them away from, you got to alienate them from their neighbors and stuff. And that was one of the things Trump did today, was saying, okay, we kind of messed up with that whole Canada thing. Let's not forget the trade war with Canada. Instead of getting Pierre Poilievre elected, who would be more Trump-friendly, more America-friendly, he got Mark Carney elected, and this guy immediately went running to China. Canada's not going to do it on its own, right? So you have a choice. Are you going to do business with China, or are you going to exile them from the entire world? Those are your choices. Those are your two options. Trump seems to be taking the more, hey, be our friend, let's do business together. We'll sell you our stuff, so you'll buy a whole bunch of airplanes. We'll sell you our gas. And can we work something out we'll sell you our farming products, we'll sell you all this kind of stuff. Can you tell Iran to not have the nuclear weapons? Can you tell them to reopen the Hormuz Strait? Can you tell them these things, and then maybe we can have peace in the Middle East? Because China helps control Iran. You see how all this is connected and so many people have no idea that it is? The average American just goes, my gas in Washington State is over $6 a gallon in the Seattle area. That's what they're seeing right now. I think Trump's trip to China was a massive success. A massive success. And I think it's a shame that the average American doesn't understand that they're watching history play out on their TVs right now if they were actually watching the news. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Pete in Florida. Pete, what's going on?
Hey, I just want to say I like J.D. Vance because when Marco was first elected, he went on to the Gang of Eight and he supported amnesty.
Yeah, I think he's kind of had a change of heart about that. Also, here's my favorite thing about Marco Rubio. You know when he went to China? He's on their banned list, and he's on their sanctioned list, and they had to give him a different name on his passport because he wasn't allowed to come into the country, and now he's coming back as Secretary of State.
Yeah, but that was China.
Okay, well, here's my thing. Here's my thing with J.D. Vance right now. is that I know people like JD Vance. I really get it. I've got my on days and off days with JD Vance. I got some texts over here, and they're saying, Ari, what about, this one's here from Daniel. He's saying it should be Ron DeSantis. It was his time. Not sure why he's been forgotten. He's been forgotten because COVID is over and everybody forgets how competent he is, right? So let me ask you this, Pete. Do you want to see JD Vance, Marco Rubio, or you want to see JD Vance and somebody else?
God, I'll take either one. I hate to say it.
Yeah, but think about this for a second here, Pete. Think about our bench for a second. Right now, we're talking about three great guys: Vance, Rubio, DeSantis. You really want to keep going down that list? We got more great options. We really, really do. Who does the left have, Pete?
I know, and I want DeSantis to stay in Florida, but we can't.
Well, no, he's termed out. So actually, I would love to see him become. I mean, look, Pete Hegseth ain't going to be the Secretary of Defense, and don't forget Ron DeSantis served in the Navy. Put him in there, or put him as Secretary of State. I mean, these are great options for him. Really great options for him.
I know it'd be wonderful.
Yeah. So who do the Democrats have, Pete? Can you name anybody you think anybody would vote for?
Oh, they'll vote for Kamala or any of the other morons that are running.
That's exactly what will happen. Actually, her numbers are dropping. And do you know whose numbers are coming up? Pete, I'm sorry. I'm going to ruin your weekend. It's not Newsom.
I know.
It's AOC.
See. Oh, yeah.
It's
the dumbest one they got.
Exactly. Let's put her up there. Oh, my God. I don't know if we'd ever actually recover from that. Pete, appreciate the call. Have a wonderful weekend, my man. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Katie Wilson is doing some major staff shakeups, but I don't think that's going to help any of her bad policies. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder to everybody out there, we are giving away four tickets to the Bremerton Air Show coming up July 11th and 12th at the Bremerton Airport. Get to see all these awesome planes, plus we're going to be out there on the 12th. And if you go to KVI.com right now, you can enter for your chance to win. Plus, while you're over there, you can see some new articles we put up. You can become a KVI insider. You can stream the show. And you can listen to podcasts of episodes you may have missed. This one here from the 863, it's from Garrett from Puyallup. The Republican Party, whoever runs on the old adage of Ronald Reagan Democrats trying to draw back in the older generation are going to lose, especially with Vance and Rubio's done specifically Vance in his attempt to reclassify the working class and more of a new modern platform. It'd be nice to get back to what each party truly fundamentally is defined as. I hear what you're saying, Garrett, but there's a little issue with that. And let me tell you what the issue is. The Democrats are never going back. They really are not. The Democrats are going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. And one of the reasons you're seeing the Republican Party take certain positions it didn't take before is in an effort to get mainstream Democrats. I mean, everything that's going on with tariffs right now, that was Trump trying to get the unions. Everything. I'm not big on the tariffs. I'm just not. Other people are. I like them as a negotiating tactic. I don't like actually using them. There's a few other policies. I mean, look, a lot of stuff he did for RFK Jr. A lot of that stuff. That's why the party's kind of become this way. The question is, will this stuff stay with the party or will this stuff go away when Trump is out of office? These are a lot of questions. And they're still going to say MAGA Republican, Trump Republican. That's not going away anytime soon. They're going to say, did you know this guy was endorsed by Trump? Did you know this guy shook hands with Trump? Do you know this guy took a picture with Trump? Do you know this guy was on the same earth as Trump was? They're going to milk that for the rest of time. The question is, are they actually going to be successful at doing that? This one here, switching gears entirely. Yesterday, towards the end of the show, the suspect was charged in the murder of the UW student, and we're finding out more information. So we got a hold of the charging documents, and we finally found out the trans-identifying student's name, which is Juniper Blessing. My guess is that is not your given name. In fact, his given name was Michael Carnero. And if you say that, you get yelled at by the activists. Don't dead name him. Okay, we don't know a lot about this, but it's horrible the way the person died. You had a 31-year-old Bellevue man. This is a guy who apparently had some mental health issues before. Some kids are claiming on Reddit they saw him around campus previously and had issues with this guy. And allegedly he stabbed Juniper or Michael or whatever this person's name is over 40 times in a laundry room. Over 40 times. We still don't know the motive. We still don't know why. But we know that this guy is now being held on $10 million bail. $10 million bail. Now, what's funny to me, not any of this story is funny to me, but the activists fighting over it. So our friends over at Peak Seattle, over on Twitter and Facebook, they were talking about how the activists are mad at each other. Apparently, there's a memorial growing on campus, but certain activist groups are trying to use the memorial for the student growing on campus as an opportunity to recruit people for whatever their activist group is. And other people are shaming them for how dare you recruit people on this memorial. It's kind of fun watching the left lose its mind. What's going to be more entertaining is who ranks higher on the woke ideology. A white trans student or a black suspect in the murder of the white trans student. Let's not forget the media outlets and the police around here didn't want to give a full description of this guy originally because the suspect is black. So watching the intersectional wars over this is going to be extremely, extremely entertaining. Tragedy, horrible, awful. But watching the left eat itself, that's kind of fun. Watching the left have problems is kind of fun. This one here from Como News, Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson is reshuffling her senior staff. So basically what you're saying is she's just getting rid of them, saying, okay, bye, or like bye to her staff. Is that what's going on here? Uh-huh. She named Esther Handy as interim chief of staff, shifting other roles within the mayor's office as the administration continues to refine its internal structure. Wow, that's a really nice way of saying continues to deal with disaster after disaster after disaster. Okay, chief of staff, that's usually your team captain. You're the coach. If you're the politician, chief of staff, that's your team captain. So that's the one you trust the most. And if things ain't going well, you're getting rid of your team captain. You're getting rid of your quarterback. That's a bad place to be. In a statement to her team, Wilson said Handy, her name's Esther Handy. Oh, by the way, if you think things are going to get better and more practical, no. Esther Handy has been in public service her entire life working for government, and she used to work for Mike O'Brien. That's right, that disaster of a city council member who's one of the reasons we have the homeless problems we have now. She used to work for him. She also is really excited that she helped pass the minimum wage. So lots of bad policies. She had a lot to do with all of them. So now she got rid of her former chief of staff, Kate Brunette Krunzer, who transitioned to a new special projects role within the office. That's we're going to let you come to work and watch Law & Order, Grandpa, but you don't actually get to do the work anymore. That's what that is. Wilson says she is deeply grateful to Kate, calling her instrumental in creating a strong internal culture and a key leader in launching my new administration during a fast-moving transition period. That's what you say when you don't want to say, yeah, I've had all these public disasters and she didn't do anything to fix them. In fact, she may have made them worse. Wilson also said the mayor's office is centralizing our council relations under Deputy Mayor Surratt in partnership with our council liaison, Tracy Whitten. Okay, here's what's going on. Think about it like the president and Congress. The president needs Congress to pass their agenda, to give him the money. What's happening right now is Wilson is seen as weak, as incompetent. And because for every gaffe that she makes, the city council goes, do we really want to hitch our wagons to her? If we hitch our wagons to her, we'll be blamed for her screw-ups. So if you've noticed, more and more city council members are calling out Katie Wilson and disagreeing with Katie Wilson. So what's happening is she can't get her agenda done because the city council don't want her agenda. Wilson said she assembled a team with a mix of experience inside and outside government, and that the early phase of the administration has included learning what works well and what might need to change in order to continue effectively moving forward on our key priorities. So you're not getting anything done. The city council doesn't want to help you, and you become a gaffe factory. I wonder if you're related to Joe Biden. According to Wilson, Handy will continue the ongoing process to assess and make recommendations related to our staffing capacities and team structures. Wilson said Handy has more than a decade of local government experience, most recently as executive operations manager in the mayor's office and formerly as director of council central staff. Oh, you mean working for Mike O'Brien? It's such a bang-up job over there. You get promoted, and then you get to you get to work with all the idiots of that council? God, that was awful. Wilson also cited Handy's organizational development experience. Oh, does that mean nonprofit or does that mean government work? Which one? Which one? Wilson also noted 2 additional departures planned since the beginning of her term. She said that in early July, Jen Chan, director of city operations, will complete a 6-month commitment with the office and return later this summer to her deputy executive director role at the Seattle Housing Authority. Yes, let's go back to Homeless Inc. so we can get that grift going again now that all of a sudden there's all this fraud coming from the King County Regional Homeless Authority. Somebody's got to get all that money. Wilson said Eddie Gillis will also wrap up a 6-month commitment as director of the mayor's office operations and pipeline in early July and return to her role as government affairs and policy director for the Office of Sustainability and Environment. Yes, the climate grift. Let's hit that up. That'll be great. Let's do that. This is going to be great. This is going to be fantastic. The staff shakeup comes after a series of verbal mess-ups by Wilson. So you want to know how you know that that's not what this is about? This is about a lot of other things. If it was just a verbal missteps, why don't you fire the communications director? Why don't you fire the spokesperson? Why don't you fire that person? Why are you firing the chief of staff? Because things ain't working right. You're not getting your agenda done. This is it. How many other things can they screw up in this office? Well, it's okay. Now they have help. Now they have help from the state. So you've got Bob Ferguson. Just the other day, was doing this press conference with Katie Wilson and Gurmay Zahalai and Dow Constantine, and they're all talking about transit for the World Cup. Now, Bob Ferguson was asked a question about, well, you are expecting close to 1 million people coming into town for the World Cup. But look at all the traffic problems you're having. This weekend, again, you're having more traffic problems because you keep shutting down highways. And you keep having all these issues. So what are you doing to address any of that?
We're taking action as a state because we know this is going to be a huge event to limit disruptions to transportation and really enhance the experience. So there's a few quick examples. We'll be pausing our work on the I-5 Ship Canal Bridge during the 5 weeks of the World Cup matches, starting on Monday, June 8th, and going until Friday, July 10th. As someone who travels on that stretch of freeway on a very regular basis, I understand the challenges facing commuters, and that's why we're putting a pause on that so we can maximize the experience for this incredible event. We'll have increased incident response teams for our roads, coordinating with our 24/7 traffic management centers who help with emergency calls and limit congestion. Since last year, thankfully, our ferry system has been at full domestic service with 18 vessels in the water. During the World Cup, we'll have 2 additional boats on standby at Eagle Harbor on Bainbridge Island in the event of any service disruption. And for our routes between Seattle, Bainbridge Island, and Bremerton, we're adding additional traffic attendants, sailors, and security personnel. We just want to make sure we're doing everything possible on our end to make this experience as positive as possible for everybody for this match.
Why can't you have those extra ferries the rest of the year? Because we all know our ferry system is in shambles because of him and Jay Inslee. You fired a whole bunch of people. Why can't you, and also all that stuff with the ferries, with getting the electric ferries, that was a disaster. Why can't you do this stuff the rest of the year? Why can't you have security the rest of the year? Why are you just doing this stuff for people who don't even live here? Why are you doing that? It shows you can do that, you just don't want to do that. That's even worse to me. Let's look good for the rest of the world. But let's not do it for the people who pay our salaries or who pay for everything else or pay for all our other insane wish list items. That really ticks me off. Up next, my friends, Lars Larson is dropping by. Apparently, him and Nicholas Kristof used to actually be in debate teams together. You get to hear about that before you had Nicholas Kristof's insane op-ed in the New York Times. Lars will be unleashed when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I find it so awesome that I get emails from Lars Larson. I get texts from Lars Larson. I get to talk to Lars Larson all the time, and that's one of my favorite parts of working at KVI. And what's even more fun about it is when it's a topic I'm really, really passionate about. I mean, look, there's a lot to cover in politics, but sometimes there's issues you're more passionate than other ones. And Lars is sending me these emails. Did you see what's happening with the New York Times? Did you see what's happening with Nicholas Kristof? It's so validating. I feel so seen, Lars. Lars, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, and if I had to, I always try to admit if I've got a dog in the fight. When I was in high school, I was a debater. I debated for 3 years. I was I love doing it. It involves research and presentation. Same thing your job and my job involves today. And one of the people I regularly debated against and beat like a rented mule was Nicholas Kristof. He happened to go to a different school, and we would compete against those schools. We debated against everybody in the Pacific Northwest. And Kristof was one of those people that we'd come up against him, and my debate partner went on to be a professor at a university in Wisconsin. We used to think this guy is pathetic, but let's go in and let's hammer him into the pavement if we can. And we did. So I don't like the guy. And then I really found another reason not to like him. I know that people are going to say, well, he's got 2 Pulitzer Prizes. I don't care. He comes back to Oregon several years ago in the last governor's election. And he said, I'm going to run for governor. And I immediately said, you don't live in Oregon. And the law in Oregon is you have to live in Oregon for 3 solid years to be a candidate for governor. Well, had he lived here for 3 years? He claimed he had, and yet in the previous election, just 12 months before, he had voted in New York City. And he had been living in New York City other than the time he spent in China, which is another reason to doubt the guy, because he apparently really likes China. So did the Biden family. But he lived in New York City and was a New York City voter. So how in the world can you claim to be an Oregon resident qualified to run for governor? So he's a liar in that case. And he has been caught on so many lies that he has told, including lies about Brett Kavanaugh when Kavanaugh was up for confirmation in the Supreme Court. And then along comes this story. And he basically asks his audience, believe the information I'm getting from organizations that are backers of Hamas, a terrorist organization, in the most outlandish claims about what is happening to so-called Palestinians when they're in Israeli custody, including that they were raped by dogs.
Yeah, it's insane. First of all, the physiological stuff about that. But what's clear to me is this week, this big report comes out, and this report was about all the horrific things that happened to the hostages and happened to the victims of October 7th. Now, Lars, a little peek behind the curtain for you. You know, my wife works for a Jewish news outlet. This story was sent out to everybody in every media outlet, but embargoed. And what embargoed means is that you can't publish it till a certain date, but because it was so massive, they want people to be able to get their hands wrapped around it. Now, the group that sent this thing out claims they sent it to the New York Times, and I have no reason to doubt them because, Lars, I don't know if you noticed this, they gave CNN the exclusive. So CNN got the exclusive on this thing, which meant that CNN got to release it a few hours before everybody else because they said, hey, let's give CNN a little bit more time. And they wanted the liberal outlets, especially the ones that have been bashing Israel, to be able to release this first, to be like, hey, here's how wrong you were, but here's a chance to get some clicks off it. The New York Times was given this story. So the New York Times had this in advance, knew the date it was coming out, knew the time it was coming out. And they specifically released Kristof's story so that people would be talking about this dog insanity rather than the horrific things that happened on October 7th.
It's one of those regular tactics that you and I know about. If you want to dump something out and have it not come to public attention, do it at 5 o'clock on Friday night. It'll disappear over the weekend. I mean, there are all these techniques that are used by both politicians and by politically oriented media to try to distract. Hey, shiny object over here. Pay no attention to that other report, which, by the way, is a very well documented report with photos, with personal testimonies, with video, with the whole 9 yards. Don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to this garbage that's getting shoveled out by Nick Kristof, the liar.
Right. And here's something else. It'd be one thing if the New York Times didn't have a history of this, but let's go all the way back to World War II. World War II, the New York Times had the Jewish wire service, and it stopped using it where they got news from because they thought it was too biased against the Nazis. I mean, this garbage has been going on for years. Lars, I don't know if you know this. There's a website called honestreporting.com. They cover a lot of the bias in the Middle East. They started because there was a picture that was on the front page of the New York Times in, I think it was 2000, 2001. And what it shows is an Israeli soldier holding a baton up, an Israeli policeman holding a baton up. And there's a kid bleeding in front of him. And the caption was something like, Israeli soldier beats Palestinian whatever. Well, a lady in Chicago saw the picture and goes, that's my son. And she calls up and she goes, he's a yeshiva student in Israel. That's a police officer who was saving him from a Palestinian mob. Oh, and they wrote it was on the Temple Mount. And if you look behind him in the background, you see a gas station. And you go, are there any Temple Mounts? I mean, any gas stations up on the Temple Mount? So this is the history of the New York Times and their awful reporting.
No, and this is the kind of thing that Christoph should be called out on. The other thing that I find interesting is that Christoph's own book about his family's history. Have you read about his father?
I was going to say, I don't think his father likes the Jews so much, last I heard, right?
No, because he was from Romania, and he makes it sound like, well, because he was in Romania, he had to be on one side, so he just happened to take the side of the Nazis for about a year. And you say, now, does having that in your family history maybe twist the point of view you might have it as the son of this man?
Well, you take somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, say what you will about Arnold Schwarzenegger, like his movies, his politics are interesting. Shall we just say interesting? But Arnold Schwarzenegger has talked very openly about the awful things he thinks his father did, and he has said, like, I do not stand for this, and this is why I stand for this. He has been very open about that. I don't hear Nicholas Kristof doing that. In fact, I see him supporting the modern day Nazis.
Yeah, and in fact, that's the thing. If you're willing to go out and shove propaganda out there, Ari, both you and I talk to people who we know have a political bias. But one of the things I always try to do is say, this person is coming from this point of view. And yet I want to hear what they have to say now that my audience knows where they're coming from, what their biases are likely to be. And if the person I'm interviewing also knows I've told that to my audience, then that person has to factor that into what they're saying. Say, you've got a bias. Just like I admit I have a bias against Nick Kristof that goes back more than 50 years. And a recent bias against him for lying to the state of Oregon and trying to run for the position of governor that he was not qualified to run for.
So, Lars, you're a lot like me, where there are Democrats who will come on your show and you have a nice relationship with them, even though you disagree with them. Now, this is a guy you knew growing up. Have you ever spoken to him, given that you are one of his harshest critics now because of his amount of lies? Has he ever addressed you calling him out?
No, a number of years ago, he did come on the show about something he had written about. And we talked at that point. Since then, he has not been willing to come on. And I really find that suspicious. Now, Ari, a lot of people listening to us might say, well, of course, you're not going to go on where you might get tough questions. Ari, when CNN had called me in previous years and said, you want to come on and talk about an issue, usually a contentious issue, and you will represent one side, say the Second Amendment or First Amendment free speech, I always said yes. I went on MSNBC, I went on CNN, not because I identified with them, but because I wanted that point of view to be represented on that channel. And if they were going to invite me to come on, if the Democrat Party of Washington said, Lars, we'd like you to come and defend your crazy ideas at our annual Democrat Party get together, I'd say, fine, I'll be there. I'll give a presentation. You tell me what length to operate within. 20 minutes. I can do 20 minutes. If you want me to do an hour, I'll do an hour. And then I'll be glad to take any and all questions you want to ask me. I think the thing that everybody who believes in the things they stand for, if they have the courage of their convictions, should be willing to stand up and take tough questions about issues. If you're not willing to take tough questions, whether you're a governor or a mayor or somebody who's from the Democrat Party, if you're not willing to take tough questions, you're telling the rest of us you don't actually have the courage of your convictions because you don't think your positions will stand up to harsh questioning. If you do believe that you can stand up to that, then you say, here's my idea. Go ahead. Ask me any question you want.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's a tape somewhere of Anderson Cooper in my kitchen for an hour and a half grilling me on the homeless crisis, and 15 seconds of it made it to 60 minutes. Maybe I got to become friends with Barry Weiss so that way she can find that tape for me of the archive and we can put it out and be like, this is what we were actually talking about. Lars Larson, you can catch a show every single weekday from 12 to 3 right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Lars, have a wonderful weekend, my friend.
And you as well. Take care,
All right, only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news headlines put a smile on your face heading into your evening commute. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode, another amazing week of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And couple of programming notes for you. Number one, first one is that we have our contest still going on. This is the last day of this particular contest. So make sure if you want to enter to win tickets to the Bremerton Air Show, you head on over to KVI.com right now, enter a little bit of information, and you can win four tickets to the Bremerton Air Show on July 11th and 12th. We will be out there on the 12th to see all of you. We'll have KVI gear with us. So if you want to get in for free, your chance is now up at KVI.com. While you are there, you can check out our articles, new articles up all the time. You can also download podcasts, you can stream us, and you can sign up to become a KVI insider right over there. Number two, on Sunday, because we can start finally collecting signatures to repeal the income tax, I'm going to be out at a Let's Go Washington event in Bellevue. It's going to be at 222 112th Avenue Southwest. That's in Bellevue, Washington. We are going to be out there from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. It's going to be me. It's going to be Let's Go Washington. Brandy Cruz is going to be out there. And you can sign IP 26-645 to repeal the income tax. Some of you have been texting me during the show, and you said, Ari, I haven't gotten my signature sheets yet, and I signed up through Let's Go Washington. They are printing them right now. I think they're going to have the paper ones by Sunday so they can go out to events, but I think they're going in the mail on Monday. So you want to come pick some up? You can come get them at 222 112th Avenue Southwest in Bellevue, Washington. I will be out there from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. with Brandy Cruz and the crew from Let's Go Washington. Switching gears, this week, normally the politics don't line up with the Jewish stuff, but this one's pretty good. So it's Jewish American Heritage Month, which I didn't even know was a thing. I'm pretty Jewish, didn't even know this thing existed. Apparently it's been around for a while. So in his proclamation to officially declare it American Heritage Month, President Trump wrote something really entertaining in here. He wrote, "Throughout this historic year, we rejoice in the triumph of the American spirit and rededicate ourselves to the cause of liberty and justice for all. In special honor of 250 glorious years of American independence, and on the weekend of Rededicate 250, a national jubilee of prayer, praise, and thanksgiving, Jewish Americans are encouraged to observe a national Sabbath. From sundown on May 15th to nightfall on May 16th, friends, families, and communities of all backgrounds may come together in gratitude for our great nation. This day will recognize the sacred Jewish tradition of setting aside time for rest, reflection, and gratitude to the Almighty." So President Trump wants us to keep Sabbath? That's great. I love this idea. I do it every week anyway. Barely an inconvenience, you might say. Now, what else I enjoy about this is this gave me the opportunity to have a little bit of fun. So, for example, I said to my synagogue, because we always have food after services, right? We always have alcohol after services. I said, it's called Kiddush. Kiddush means to make holy. It's also the thing you make on the wine. It's the blessing you make on the wine. So we always have Kiddush after services. I said, let's do the all-American Kiddush. And then I find out somebody had a baby. It's a girl baby, and the whole social hall is going to be pink. And there's going to be lots of girl stuff. And I'm like, okay, I can't put the American flag and all that stuff over everything for the pink stuff, okay? They want the pink theme. I get that. All right, how about that afternoon meal we do after afternoon services? So we're having the all-American thing then, and normally that's like, okay, a little bit of tuna salad, a little bit whatnot. I got deli platters coming. It's going to look like 4th of July in that room. I had a friend go out and get deli platters, and we got meats, and we got all this good stuff happening. So we were having all-American Sabbath this week. Very excited about it. And a buddy of mine, he texted me. He goes, "Ari, look what I got for National Shabbos." And he goes, "Wild turkey and other kinds of bourbon," because this week he's usually a Scotch guy. He got all the bourbons because we're doing all American this week. So very exciting about this kind of stuff. But I'll tell you something else is that I read Charlie Kirk's book, the one he wrote before he died. And it's about keeping the Sabbath. Now you say Charlie was a Christian. That wasn't really how he did, and he did Sundays, but he wrote a book about keeping the Sabbath. I think it's one of the best books on the Sabbath I've ever read, and it's written by a non-Jew. And here's something else about it, is that he recognized that when you take the time off from your cell phone, you take the time off from your electronics, then it's actually very rejuvenating. It's very nice. Erica Kirk has spoken about how Charlie would just throw it in a drawer when he got home on Fridays, and he would try not to touch it all weekend. I do that for 25 hours all weekend. In fact, I find it entertaining when some of you go, "Oh, Ari's back online." When you see I come back on Saturday night to see what's going on in the world. It's really nice. Go touch grass. Go hang out with your family. Take some time off. Turn your phone off for one day. Go to the zoo. I hear there's new baby lion cubs at the zoo. I wish that we could talk about whether or not the Mariners won last night, whether or not it rained in Seattle, and the baby animals at the zoo. Everybody loves baby animals at the zoo. You know how I know this? My wife posted something today about how she just wants to talk about the baby animals at the zoo. Hannah Krieg from The Burner liked it, and I liked it. See, everybody likes baby animals. Maybe we could just talk about the baby animals at the zoo. That's how we do it. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice if bad politics weren't messing anything up? But go to the zoo. Go to the aquarium. Talk about how great America is. We do this every Sabbath. We say prayers about how great America is. We say prayers for the president, the vice president, everybody in Congress. We do that every week. That's what you should be doing this weekend. Spend your time with your family. Turn off your phones. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back on Monday with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570.